Julie Patz has largely avoided this now 2-month trial, saying it was just too emotional. But around noon today, they finally told the judge they were not unanimous. But the jury remains divided, and their message to the judge is quite clear. After 36 years of mystery surrounding Etan Patz's disappearance, they too cannot figure it out unanimously. And there is just no indication as to how divided this jury might actually be. They have not said in any of their notes, and the judge can't ask them, or else it would be grounds for a mistrial.
But what happens if they come back deadlocked after all this?
Well, if they come back deadlocked for a third time, Maurice, the judge will have no choice but to declare a hung jury, which will then result in a mistrial, and then the prosecutor will have to decide whether to retry this case. But I've talked to the defense attorney, Harvey Fishbein. He says the earliest they'd be able to reschedule for another trial where they do this all again would be November. Maurice?
That wouldn't be double jeopardy, Jessica?
It wouldn't. If this was a hung jury, then no verdict was reached. Therefore, they could, in fact, try this case again, and that is all up to the prosecution. But no double jeopardy when a verdict has not been reached. The judge in both of those instances sent the jury back. It's what's called an Allen charge, and the judge essentially says to the jury, go back and try again. There is a very slim chance that the judge will send them back again. That's not prohibited. However, it is very unlikely to happen just because the jury has been at this for 18 days. They have been involved in this case since the beginning of January. What a day inside this courthouse. In fact, just minutes ago, things got very heated as jurors left a press conference they were holding. The 4 women of the jury yelled out, "Pedro Hernandez, you know what you did." There was just one holdout on this jury. But most interesting was actually their progression through this 3.5-week deliberation. They said the split was 8-4 for guilty when they voted that first day, and up until this morning the vote was 10-2, with the lone juror holding out until the end, refusing of course to vote for that guilty verdict. An amazing process. So interesting to hear from the jurors after we had been sitting in the courtroom at this point for 3.5 weeks. And Pedro Hernandez will go back to Rikers and remain locked up until this case is tried again. Both sides will be back in court on June 10th. A few of them said, "I'm sorry" to the Patz family, and then they also urged the district attorney to try this again with 12 other people. In the end, one juror held out, refusing to convict, and tonight only CBS 2 cameras were there as the jury met at the Tribeca Grand Hotel. They hugged, they said their goodbyes, but one juror was missing, the one who would not convict Pedro Hernandez. We're told that juror number 11 wasn't even invited. His refusal to go along with the rest of the jury ended with an outburst from one of his fellow jurors.
Nothing's impossible. They'll get him next time. Pedro Hernandez, you know what you did.
The 4 women of the jury saved her anger for the end of the press conference featuring all 12 jurors, including the lone holdout.
Ultimately, I couldn't find enough evidence that wasn't circumstantial to convict. I couldn't get there.
Jurors spent 18 days and more than 100 hours discussing this case. Their first vote on April 15th was 8-4 in favor of a guilty verdict. Each subsequent vote brought more into the guilty column, but one still refused to budge.
For me, his confession was very bizarre, no matter how many times it happened.
This man did it. He said it. How many times does a man have to confess before someone believes him?
Etan's father, Stanley, urged the district attorney to retry this case and talked about his little boy who disappeared on the way to his Soho bus stop in 1979.
Etan was a beautiful, outgoing, friendly, curious little kid. He would have made a great adult, but that's what got him killed, because he was willing to go with his downstairs.
54-year-old Pedro Hernandez confessed to police that he strangled and killed 6-year-old Etan, but the jury couldn't agree that his words were true. District Attorney Cy Vance has indicated the case will be retried, saying, "We believe there is clear and corroborated evidence of the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The challenges in this case were exacerbated by the passage of time, but they should not and did not deter us." But defense attorney Harvey Fishbein says they have the wrong man.
I'm sure the city of New York is interested in a resolution of this case. I would say that there's only a resolution if the correct man is held responsible, and we firmly believe that Pedro Hernandez is not the right man.